All right, so get this. Today we're going deep on Smart Podcast episode 09.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and their whole episode is about simplifying health and fitness advice. So
Okay.
it's kind of like we're giving you the cheat sheet to their cheat sheet, you know?
A deep dive into a deep dive.
Exactly. A little meta, but trust me, it's worth it.
I like it. So what did they cover that we should really dig into?
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me was they're not just talking about, getting six-pack abs or fitting into a smaller size.
Right.
It's more about overall well-being, which I think is a message that resonates with a lot of people.
For sure. It's not about aesthetics. It's about feeling good.
Yeah, like how much energy you have, how well you sleep. Those are the things that actually impact your quality of life.
Absolutely. And Smart Podcast really emphasizes that connection between regular exercise and, reducing your risk of chronic diseases.
Oh, interesting.
They even talk about the mental health benefits, like reduced anxiety and depression.
It's not just about physical health. It's about your mental state, too.
It's about taking care of your whole self, the whole package.
I like that. So it's deeper than just quick tips and tricks.
Yeah, they dive into the why behind the what,
I appreciate that. And speaking of what, they give these 5 daily habits to track.
Okay, lay them on me.
Well, one that surprised me was hydration.
Oh, water. How'd they spin that?
It really emphasized drinking enough water, 8 glasses a day, but they connect it to all these benefits like improved digestion, more energy.
It's funny how we often forget about the basics.
Right. We get so caught up in the fancy stuff, but water is truly essential.
Absolutely. And another habit they highlight is just moving more throughout the day.
Okay, so not necessarily hitting the gym every day.
Exactly. It's about finding those little opportunities to move.
Like taking the stairs, parking further away, even just standing up every hour.
It all adds up. Those small, consistent movements can make a big difference over time.
I like that it's about changing your mindset, not just your routine.
Exactly. And speaking of mindset, they also talk about overcoming fitness struggles, staying motivated, finding the time.
Oh, I struggle with that all the time.
We all do. But what's interesting is how they approach it. It's about setting realistic goals.
Instead of hanging for some crazy transformation.
Right. They talk about focusing on process goals rather than outcome goals.
I'm not sure I follow.
So instead of obsessing over losing 10 pounds, your goal is to work out 3 times a week.
Ah, so it's about the actions you're taking, not just the end result.
Exactly. It's more sustainable and less pressure.
Which brings us to their next point, finding activities you actually enjoy.
Oh, that's huge. If you hate running, don't force yourself to run.
Right. It shouldn't feel like punishment. It should be something you look forward to.
Maybe it's dancing, hiking, swimming, whatever gets you moving and makes you happy.
Yeah. And they also emphasize prioritizing rest, getting enough sleep.
Which is something I definitely need to work on.
Me too. We tend to glorify busyness, but sleep is crucial for both our physical and mental health.
Absolutely. It's when our bodies repair and recharge.
So it sounds like Smart Podcast is promoting a more balanced and holistic approach to well-being.
Exactly. It's not about extremes. It's about finding what works for you and making sustainable changes.
And that's something we can all get behind.
Definitely. It's a message that resonates no matter what your fitness level is.
So we've covered the 5 key habits, but they also have some additional tips and strategies. Want to dive into those now?
Yeah, let's hear them. What else did Smart Podcast have to say? Well, one that they really stressed was tracking your progress.
Oh, like keeping a food journal or something.
It could be that, but it doesn't have to be super complicated.
Okay, but I'm curious, why is tracking so important?
Well, they explained that it kind of taps into the psychology of motivation, like when you see your progress.
Ah, I see. Even if it's small, it still feels good.
Exactly. It reinforces those positive changes and keeps you from getting discouraged.
So what are some good ways to track besides a food journal?
They suggest marking a calendar with your workouts, using an app for water intake.
Simple stuff. I like that. Not too overwhelming.
Right. And they even mentioned journaling, just to jot down how you're feeling.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a mental check-in.
Yeah. It helps you identify patterns and connect with your body.
I can see how that could be valuable, but it all comes back to finding a method that works for you.
Exactly. Something you can stick with that doesn't feel like a chore.
So tracking progress, check. What other strategies did they offer?
Well, this was pretty common sense, but they emphasized finding support.
Like having a workout buddy to keep you accountable.
Yeah, or even just a friend who encourages you, or an online community.
That social connection can make a big difference, for sure.
Right. They even said there's studies showing people with support are more likely to stick with it.
It's about creating that positive environment where you feel motivated.
Exactly. Whether it's a group setting or just one-on-one support.
Whatever works for your personality, right?
Yeah. And Smart Podcast also talked about experimenting, like not being afraid to try new things.
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. It's about listening to your body and adjusting as needed.
Seeing it as an ongoing experiment, that's a cool way to frame it.
Right. And not being afraid to deviate from the norm, finding what feels right for you.
And that includes reframing setbacks, like if you miss a workout or something.
Oh, I needed to hear that. I always beat myself up over those.
They encourage you to see it as a learning opportunity, not a failure.
That's a much healthier perspective. It's about progress, not perfection, right?
Yeah, and focusing on the long game, those small, consistent changes over time.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent.
Okay, but what about the mental hurdles, like negative self-talk? How do we deal with that?
They actually had a whole segment on the mental aspect of fitness.
Interesting, because that can be a huge barrier for people.
Oh, absolutely. Like if you're constantly telling yourself you're not good enough,
It's going to be hard to make any progress, no matter what strategies you use.
they said it's important to become aware of that inner critic and challenge those negative thoughts.
Like replacing self-criticism with self-compassion.
Exactly. Focusing on your strengths rather than your weaknesses.
Shifting to a more positive mindset, I like that.
And they also talked about celebrating your wins, no matter how small.
Oh, that's important. It's easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished yet.
Right. But acknowledging those small wins helps build momentum.
It's that positive reinforcement, recognizing every step forward.
It's about building a healthy relationship with yourself and your body.
And that seems to be the core message of SmartPodcast, right?
Yeah. It's about self-care and empowerment, not punishment and deprivation.
Creating a sustainable and enjoyable approach to fitness, one that actually supports your well-being.
It's not just about the physical, it's about the mental and emotional too.
So, before we wrap up this whole deep dive, what are your overall thoughts on this SmartPodcast episode?
Honestly, I really appreciated their balanced and realistic approach, no quick fixes or miracle solutions.
They kept it real, acknowledged the challenges, but offered practical solutions.
Yeah, and they managed to explain things in a way that was both informative and engaging.
Not too technical, not too preachy, just right.
It felt like they were having a conversation with you rather than lecturing at you.
That's so important, building that trust and rapport with the listener.
And they also touched on body image, challenging those conventional beauty standards.
Oh, I'm glad they addressed that. It's so important to promote a more body-positive perspective.
Absolutely. Health and fitness should be about feeling good in your own skin, not conforming to some ideal.
It's about self-acceptance and celebrating diversity, which is a message we need to hear more of.
Definitely, and that ties into their overall message of self-love and empowerment.
It's about encouraging people to prioritize their well-being on their own terms.
Recognizing that it's a journey, not a destination, and everyone's path is unique.
Okay, so we've covered the key habits, the strategies, the mindset, even touched on body image.
I think we've pretty much dissected this whole Smart Podcast episode.
But before we move on, I want to bring it back to our listener for a moment.
Okay, what do you have in mind?
We've talked a lot about the how-to of health and fitness, but what about the why?
The why.
Yeah, like why do we want to be healthy in the first place? What are we hoping to gain?
That's a good question. It's easy to get caught up in the steps without considering the motivation.
And I think that why is different for everyone. For some, it's about physical health, reducing disease risk.
For others, it's about energy levels, feeling more confident.
Or maybe it's about connecting with their body, practicing self-care.
It's about aligning your actions with your values, figuring out what truly matters to you.
And that introspection can be so powerful because once you understand your why,
It becomes easier to stay motivated, make those healthy choices.
it gives your journey purpose and meaning. So to our listener, take some time to reflect on your own. Why? What are your deepest motivations are wanting to be healthy?
What are you hoping to achieve? Because once you figure that out,
It becomes much easier to create a sustainable and fulfilling approach to fitness.
one that truly aligns with your values and aspirations, that's a great point.
All right, so that wraps up our deep dive into Smart Podcast episode 09.
We've unpacked those key insights, the habits, the strategies.
And hopefully we've done it in a way that was both informative and engaging.
To our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked some ideas.
Maybe even inspired you to try something new, make a change.
But remember, it's about finding what works for you, what feels good.
Start small, be consistent, and most importantly, be kind to yourself.
It's a journey, not a destination, and we're all in this together.
Until next time, keep diving deep. It's amazing how much Smart Podcast focuses on the mental and emotional side of things too.
It is, it's not all about physical fitness. It's about well-being, like a bigger picture.
Right. So I was thinking, what can our listeners actually do like today?
Today?
To boost their mental and emotional fitness. We talked habits, but this feels different.
It is connected, for sure. But yeah, they mentioned mindfulness, and I think that's key.
Mindfulness, okay, not like full-on meditation, right?
Not necessarily, more like being present, noticing things.
As you go about your day, so like what I'm eating and I really taste my food.
That's it. Or feeling the sun, or really hearing sounds as you walk, engaging those senses.
That's kind of cool. It's not adding more to do. It's how you do what you're already doing.
Exactly. And studies show even little bits of that can lower stress, help you focus better.
Like a mental vacation, but I bet our listeners are busy. So what else can they fit in?
Well, back to Smart Podcast and sleep. Getting enough is huge, not just for your body.
Oh man, I know this one. I'm always up late, but yeah, when I sleep enough, I'm way better.
It's not just you. Lack of sleep messes with your mood, your focus, even decisions you make.
Point taken, gotta prioritize that. But what about social stuff, beyond the workout buddy thing?
Right. They didn't go deep, but Smart Podcast hinted at it. Good relationships are so important.
Feeling connected, like you belong, that's basic human stuff, even for us introverts, you know?
For sure. And it fits their whole thing, not fitting a mold, but what works for you socially, too.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness for the moment, sleep to recharge, connecting with people. What's missing?
Gratitude, simple but strong, taking time to appreciate the good stuff, changes your whole view.
I tried gratitude journals, but it felt forced. Is there a way to make it more, I don't know, real?
It doesn't have to be writing. Just think of something you're grateful for while you're, I don't know.
Brushing your teeth or tell someone you appreciate them, it's the thought that counts.
It is. It's like training your brain to see the good. We all need more of that, right?
Totally. And just like getting fit takes time, so does getting mentally strong. It's a process.
That's a great way to put it. No pressure to be perfect, but you keep working at it.
And like SmartPodcast said, try different things for your mind and emotions too.
Whatever feels right for you helps you feel your best. That's the whole point.
We've covered so much today, from the habits to the mental stuff. It's all connected.
It is. I hope our listeners got some new ideas from this deep dive.
I hope so too. It's about more than just following rules. It's about creating a good life.
Inside and out, that's what matters. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep.
Exactly. Until next time.